Hi, this is Jackson Waldron, and you're listening to the SRJC Polar Bear Podcast.
Hello, I'm Lachlan, Irvine, and today the Oakley presents 4 Dudes, 1 Cup, a Polar Bear podcast. Joining us today, of course, are the usual suspects. We have Trevor Rocco.
Hello.
Travis LaBrucherie.
What's up?
And Tommy Denon.
What's up, guys?
And welcome to a new season, boys. You guys ready to do this?
I'm excited.
It's good to be here.
Very stoked.
All right. Well, obviously, first item of the day is the World Cup of Hockey starts on Saturday.
Is that soon?
Yeah. Hockey's back very early this year.
How long have they been doing these exhibition games?
They've been going for 2 weeks now,
Nice.
basically.
That long, really?
Yeah.
Like a week and a half.
That's why
Like a week and a half.
Yeah.
Because I think they started. Did they start last Thursday they started? So only just a week then.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so they've only been going for a week, and but on Saturday all the exhibitions are now over. Right on to the full tournament right now in Toronto on Saturday.
What do the first game matchups look like?
The first game matchups, I believe.
Well, who's in it?
Okay,
Let's-
yeah.
for
Let's
everyone that doesn't know.
start by going through. Yeah, let's start by going through how the tournament, who's in the tournament, because it is kind of a weird, funky one. They haven't done this in about 12 years.
Yeah, you got the Europe team and then the
Exactly.
the
It's-
non-nationals.
There's some very odd matchups
It
in
took
here.
me a second to even understand it, to be honest.
Oh, exactly. Oh, yeah. Well, I remember when they were first looking into this, and I remember thinking how weird it was that they weren't just going to add two national teams. Okay, so for the people back home who don't have a whole lot of insight into this, in Group A of this tournament we have Team Canada, Team Czech Republic, Team USA, and Team Europe, which is made up of countries that don't have a team in the tournament this year.
Right.
And then on
That are in Europe.
That are in Europe. Any Europe,
Like Japan and...
yeah, basically, well, yeah, any
Japan can't be on Team Europe?
Japan. Technically they could, but I mean, I don't think.
Yeah,
they
no,
have
it's
any.
Team Euro Scrubs. It could be
Basically, right?
Maybe.
And then Group B, they've got it's Russia, Sweden, Finland, and Team North America, which is made up of players from Canada and the U.S. under the age of 23. So basically, a young stars tournament.
No players from Mexico?
Well, I mean, are there any? Can you name any Mexican players in the National Hockey League right now?
No.
Rafael Diaz. I don't know if he's one of them, but I know he represents Switzerland in international competition. I believe he has Mexican background.
Why not?
Rafi Torres? He can't...
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. We might edit that part out.
Valtteri Filipino.
Is he even
Filipino?
Filipino? Is he even here?
I'm just kidding.
Is he even in this tournament? Okay, so why don't we jump right into it then? Do we want to go to Group A and just talk about the teams and what we've got going here?
Sure, do you have rosters there?
I do have rosters for the teams. Do we want to go over some names here?
Yeah, we can just touch on a couple of things.
All right, I guess let's start because we're an American-based show.
He says in his bright Canada.
As I'm wearing my Canada jersey today, I'm the Canadian member here.
Is there a conflict of
I mean,
interest here?
Canada is in America.
It's in North America. I think there's a bit of a difference
If
there.
nothing else, they're an accessory.
Okay,
The
hot
US
takes
is
here.
in America.
All right, so Team USA, they're of course coached by the lovable John Tortorella.
Yeah,
Everyone, he's big.
The reason people from USA are not rooting for Team USA.
Basically, right? All right. So question. I guess we have to talk about this because
You're gonna start with goalies, right?
No, I'm not going to start with goalies. I'm going to start with,
Interesting.
of course, with John Tortorella. He made comments last week. Of course, there's this whole controversy with Colin Kaepernick, how he took a knee during the national anthem at a football game. Tortorella was asked about it at a press conference, and he said that any player who does it will be benched and will not play. What do you guys think of that?
I have no opinion on this subject.
You're not going to take any political stance there?
That doesn't matter enough to me to take a stance on it. It's one of those things. I'm just
and on that note, that's actually a really good point. I don't want to draw politics into sports any more than they already are. I think that's a great reason that we have sports, is to kind of get real life stuff in perspective. So a coach saying that to me is more along the lines of just having team unity and not drawing negative publicity to the hard work of the group as a whole. So whether or not you as a player have a very strong public agenda, he's saying this is not the place for it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Yeah, I would say, especially when you're playing for Team USA, that's probably not the best time as well. Especially.
It's not just like another in the National Hockey League. It's us representing our team against the whole world. So are you saying...
Yeah, exactly. And especially...
I'm just with the... Keep it simple.
Yeah, I like also... I also like how... sports is kind of an escape from that sort of stuff a lot of the time, like politics and stuff. People watch sports because they don't want to hear about the garbage going on in whatever it is, politics around the world sort of thing. That's why the Olympics are always such a big deal and how they're this big, competition that's also like peacetime sort of thing for countries. I'm not crazy about it overall. Moving into sports, but I will say if you're going to represent your country, probably not the best time to be sitting in a national anthem. Right?
I think that, I'm glad, this is how Tortorella wants to coach his team. He put it out there. But if a player does not stand, I think that's cool if he wants to make that big of a statement.
So the Team USA has been built very much for a coach like Tortorella. It's not so much built about offense. It's more about playing a very defense-first sort of game. Do you worry that might be an issue in a tournament like this?
Defense wins championships.
Well, this is the team that...
I'd agree with you on a long term, like in a regular season, yeah, I would see why that would be an 82-game schedule that would work, but in a tournament where if you lose 2 games, you're done.
Right.
Is that an issue if you can't score as well as the other teams?
Well, this is the team snubbing Phil Kessel still, right?
Yes.
So I think that says everything right there. This is a Stanley Cup champion who is known to score at big moments, but not necessarily be a defensive-minded person. I think that says everything about the way that Tortorella is going about this.
Yeah,
this right here, and I think that it may be one of his undoings.
All right. In goal right now, the goaltenders are Ben Bishop, Jonathan Quick, Corey Schneider. Right now, I think a lot of people would say that Quick is the number 1 guy going in. Is that the right call?
I think that's what they said, right? Yeah. Like they've made that call already.
Yeah.
He.
I don't want it to be right.
All right. Okay. So if you're Coach John Tortorella, you're going in the first game. I believe it's against the Czech Republic, or is it Europe? I have to check again. But regardless of who it is that the right call? Jonathan Quick starting in goal.
For me, yes.
Yeah, he's pretty fast.
Yeah. He's good. Are you? Yeah. Are you just?
I couldn't.
You couldn't resist.
Yeah.
What happens if he has a bad game? Who do you go to next then? What do you go to?
Bishop, for sure.
Bishop? Yeah.
Not to say anything against Corey Schneider, he's fine. He's just, I'd like to see him in more big games before I make
the mix anymore?
Decision.
Crawford's Canada. Crawford's Team Canada.
Oh, right.
That would make sense.
We will get to him later.
Shortly.
Because that's in ways a more interesting goalie topic, because they really, I wouldn't say, have a set number 1 right now. If we go to the games right now, yeah. Team USA plays Europe in the first game on Saturday.
I think against Team Europe, I think they're fine with any their choices, but
yeah, that's an interesting thing. After the exhibition games are all over, every team either went 1-2 or 2-1. It was close. It was very close. Then this tournament's going to be really is anybody's tournament to win.
Mm-hmm.
But who is the favorite here? Who is the favorite going in?
In Group A?
In altogether, who would you say the favorite is?
Well, it's Canada until somebody says otherwise or proves otherwise, I think.
Basically.
But who I'm rooting for is I'm interested in Team North America. That's that's the dark horse in this, the biggest dark horse, and I think the most exciting team to watch.
Oh yeah, I want to get one of their jerseys. Those jerseys look really nice.
Yeah.
I actually made a video about Team North America for my YouTube channel. I will probably find a way to plug that in some way in here somewhere.
Great.
Then I guess we should go to Team Canada now, because, of course, they are the favorite to win. They are the defending champions in the World Cup from 2004. They are the defending Olympic champions from 2010 and 2014. And they're the defending World Hockey Championship winners from the last 2 years as well. what do you think, if they are the favorite, how much of a favorite are they, would you say? Like, is it a big, are they the favorites by a large gap, or is it small? Or
just based on the numbers, I mean, yeah, but I don't think that there's so much talent on that team in comparison to the other teams. I think that these are all relatively well-balanced teams, and really there's enough talent in any of these pools to go all the way for anybody. But it's just until we see otherwise.
Really, all any of these teams are national all-star teams.
Yeah.
So you're getting guys that are playing year-round in a professional setting against each other.
Absolutely.
They're just mixing it up and kind of making the pick a little bit more selective. So I agree with you. It's like you have a little bit of disparity kind of, in North America, and some interesting things to see there, but it could go any way. And as far as I see it so far, from what I watched, even that first U.S.-Canada match where they're going back and forth, and really any one of those opportunities, just how that game is, it's so fast and it could bounce and kind of change the course of a lot of people's predictions. So yeah.
Anything to add there, Bruce?
No.
They touched on it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this lineup, it's just.
Yeah, that's what I was drawing from. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, the amazing thing about Team Canada right now, especially, is they've already lost an entire forward line to injuries already, and that was Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, and Jeff Carter, all gone. All went down with an injury. Seguin being the most recent of those. And the replacements they've brought up is Logan Couture, Ryan O'Reilly, and Corey Perry, I believe, are the.
I mean, it's a step down, but barely.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the funny things, especially is another guy touched on this in a YouTube video about how the first line for Canada right now is Crosby centering Patrice Bergeron and Brad Marchand. Now, Patrice Bergeron is considered to be the best two-way centerman in the game, and they've got him on the wing. They've got him playing wing. So what does that say about the depth on this team?
Well, you got to dump
real deep.
Steven Stamkos playing on the third line.
Yeah, well,
it's a little bit nasty. To be honest.
That's the thing about these tournaments, is you can't really call one line a top line or a second line. It's like
they're all just lines.
These are top lines on any other team.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't matter where you are.
I've watched hockey for so many years in so many different levels of the game, and I always have considered the Olympics and international tournaments to be the best form of the game in terms of its physical, it's high scoring, but it's also not like ridiculously violent. Like you would say the NHL can get out of hand sometimes.
Yeah.
In international competition, they're less likely to do that because of suspensions and stuff like that, which can kill your team really quickly.
Right.
And I've always felt that, especially with these teams, you get less like goony hockey. You play a lot more of a clean game, lots of more offensive-minded teams, and it makes it more exciting in the end. But unfortunately, you can't do that.
All these guys
NHL.
being stars too, they're a little bit more wary of not getting hurt. I mean, and like I said earlier, these people always being spread out. You're just getting them kind of on a smaller ratio of guys that are really just trying to play the puck and extend their career as much as possible, as opposed to guys who's playing the old school way, playing for keeps, to get to the cup.
I wrote a power rankings article for the Oak Leaf, and one of the things that I touched on for Canada being one of their possible downfalls is that on defense they are not as solid as they could be. Like, they ignored Chris Letang and PK Subban because they felt that instead of going for who scores the most in that regard, they went for this strategy of left shots and right shots. They want the guy on the left to be able to have that left-handed shot, and they want the guy on the right to take the right-handed shot. So they went with marginally a weaker defensive team core than they had to. Do you worry about that being an issue for them, or do you think it's not as big a deal as it could be?
Kind of, but because I still see that as an offensively minded defensive core. If you're worrying about shots on the side, that's still an offensive stat. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you're really worried about your defense playing defense, then you put the best guy out there, regardless of whether or not they're offensive minded or too offensive minded. It's you put the guy in that can play the position that he's set to play. Offense is, like, I think, and in addition to that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like you look at looking at the roster right here. The right-handed shots are all big name guys like Brent Burns, Drew Doughty. Mm-hmm. We have Alex Pietrangelo and Shea Weber, and then on the left side, it's a little bit wavering. Vlasic, who's a big Marc-André Vlasic, Jay Bouwmeester, and Jake Muzzin are the guys. Now, guys like for example, especially Jake Muzzin, for example, he's not a guy who you usually think of immediately when you're thinking of Team Canada. Yeah, you're going to think of a guy like Subban or Letang, and they brought him on anyway. But they really believe in this strategy. So and especially Bouwmeester in the exhibition games looked very good on that top line. He was playing out of his mind good.
Yeah, he's all-star.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And also one of the things you can notice is that they have the matchup set. There are 2 Sharks, there are 2 Kings defensemen, and there are 2 Blues defensemen in there. The odd guy out is Shea Weber, but he's Shea Weber. Right. So I don't think it matters who he plays with. He's going to be good anyway.
Right.
And then last but not least, we go into goaltending with them. Corey Crawford, Braden Holtby, and Carey Price are the goaltenders. Many people believe right now the upper hand is Carey Price. That being said, all of them were very good. Were very good in the exhibition games. None of them had a bad game, save for Price in the first game against the U.S., but that was his first game in months, I think. And so if you're going into this first game, which guy do you go to?
I don't know.
I like Holtby, just from the season he had.
Yeah, I think if you're going hot hand, that's the guy to go to. But it just all depends on your mindset.
Yeah, I personally would also go to Holtby. He looked quite good in his I think he had a half game against the States, and I think he let in. I think he just let in 2. I think he let in 2 goals. He let in 2 goals. He did well, but he did well. There was no issue with that. Price played, I think, the entirety of the last game against the Russians, where they won 2-1 in overtime, and he looked great. And Corey Crawford, I don't think he let in a goal in his set, so he did well too.
Right. He's the only one that I would be worried about, just because his save, I think as far as save percentage and goals against average, career-wise, are lower than the other 2.
But he also has 2 Stanley Cups,
right? Exactly.
Which, for the record, neither of those 2 guys have. He's the only one on that list with Stanley Cups.
He is also the one that has benefited from a better built team around him. Yeah, so I think that's the only reason. I feel like Corey Crawford is a fantastic goalie, but I don't know if he's otherworldly like the other 2 have the ability to be. And that's a strong statement coming from me about Carey Price, because I hate Carey Price.
You hate Carey Price? Why do you hate Carey Price?
He's settled down a little bit, but some early career comments and attitudes really soured me on him really early in his NHL career.
I remember
really got over it.
What was he saying?
Just I don't know. I don't want to go.
Well, I remember he made the mistake of telling the media what his weakness was, and all of a sudden players started shooting there and scoring on him all the time because he made it very clear that that's not his best spot, and all of a sudden they started scoring on him. It looked like his career was going to go downhill.
Yeah,
all of a sudden he is monstrously good.
One of the first years that they I guess it was probably 2008 or 2009. I was watching a series and he had a terrible game, and they were media was asking him questions like, do you think you'll start next game? What do you think your chances are? And he was just super smug about they don't have any other choice and things like that. I'm the guy, you know what I mean? And I always hate that kind of attitude towards anything. But I think humble has to be number 1, I feel like.
I would say right now, though, he is the guy. He is the guy for Canada, for sure. And I don't think, unless he has a bad game, no one's taking that away from him.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's go to the Czech Republic now. They, I would say, are definitely one of the bubble teams. Not just because they're playing in a division with Canada and the U.S., but because they've lost some pretty key guys to injuries. David Krejci, gone. Thomas Hertl, gone. Those are both big name guys, and I think they've been replaced with players from the KHL. So it's clearly a step down from those players. Do you think that I guess the big question is, can they steal a game? Which is what they're going to need to do. Can they steal a game from Canada or the U.S., do you think?
It's going to be tough.
No.
You don't think so at all?
I doubt it, but, again...
I'm not taking any of those guys in my fantasy league.
I would take Voracek, and there's a few guys on there who...
I'm just kidding.
I would take
they
Voracek.
they have talent. Like, it's not
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, it's not it's not a lacking roster by any means, but it's more of a high-end NHL roster as opposed to a all-star roster. You know what I mean? That kind of...
Yeah, they definitely had a lot slimmer pickings.
Yeah, they have some holes, but, there's a lot of people on this list that we don't really know that much about, too. So you never know. Yeah. It could be a coin toss.
I would say their biggest question is in goal. They have Peter Mrazek, Michael Neuwirth, Andrei Pavlik. All of them have played starting roles, but none of them are like top-end starting goalies. Who do you think has the edge right now in the net?
Probably Mrazek, just because he's generally been the guy in Detroit recently. Neuwirth had a really good season last year, regardless of the fact that the Flyers didn't do that well. But when he was the guy, he ran with it.
I believe Neuwirth is the guy they are preparing to start in the first game, which is against Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Again, all of these guys, I think Mrazek would probably be my first choice, just because he did play a full season.
Mm-hmm.
Neuwirth had a great year. But if that's what they want to go to, he did have a very good last tournament game. They won against Team North America, and in a pretty tough game, I think he let in 2 goals. So a pretty good night. So a very good night for him. I think they're making the right call, but it's going to be a short leash, especially with a guy like Mrazek and a tournament like this where you need to win right off the bat.
Right.
They're probably going to. I would say Pavlik's probably that third guy right now.
Great.
I think that's pretty much it from the Czech Republic side. Not as much to talk about with them. I guess, do you see any possibility where they could come out on top of this division? Like, what do you think what would they have to do to beat everybody, to go out there and take first place?
Injure everybody on the other team.
Injure everybody.
It's gonna be rough. Just based on what I see. With these tournaments, you never know. Somebody could have a breakout day. You know what I mean? Yeah. Somebody could just, rise to the next level. But it's just roster comparison. It's too much of a hill to climb. I think.
Yeah, it's just not a contest in that regard. All right, moving on to the final team in Group A. We have Team Europe. Team Europe, of course, is made up of all-stars from the European countries that are not represented here. So anyone who isn't from the Czech Republic, Russia, Sweden, or Finland, any of those countries, anyone not from those countries are here. So, for example, just to give you an idea on who we have here, Bellemare from Pierre-Edouard Bellemare from the Flyers. He is here representing France. Mikkel Bodker and Jannik Hansen are here with Denmark. We also have players from Germany, Slovakia, Slovenia, and Switzerland is represented here.
Never even heard of some of these countries.
Austria and Norway. I think there's 9 countries, and those are all of them.
Yeah.
Let me just look down here to make sure. Italy. Lucas Pisa is here representing Italy,
nice.
which is kind of interesting. Which is interesting, especially for the fact that he has represented Switzerland at various Olympics.
Yeah.
So he decided to go here. No, I'm going with Italy on the jersey, I believe. Or is that or that's just his birthplace? So you never know. I think he might have gone with Switzerland.
I believe he is Swiss.
You did go with Swiss, yeah, because the Italian program's just not there yet.
Yeah, makes sense.
So really, this is the thing. What sets this team apart, especially even from a team like the Czech Republic, is they do have an entirely NHL roster, except for maybe a few players here, or no, even Seidenberg and Ehrhoff are 2 guys who are just free agents right now. So, what are the odds on them that they could be the team here?
I think this is the team in Group A. If somebody's going to do any kind of upset over anybody, this is the team that's going to do it. A lot of these players may not be the number one guy on their team or even the number two guy, but this roster is filled with people who have either something to prove or have been out of the limelight because of other people on their teams taking that from them, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of talent on this team for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think according to stats, they have the oldest team in this group. They have the oldest team in the tournament. I think the average age is about 30 and a half years. So they're definitely older. Like, there are some teams like Finland and North America, obviously, who are a lot younger and a lot faster, which might be one of their downfalls here. They also didn't look as good, or in the first two games against North America, they pretty much got it handed to them by North America. And I think probably a lot of that reason is, unlike these other countries, these guys were never built to play together.
Right.
They never have played together as a group. Do you think that's going to be the big issue here, is that they have not, and most of these guys haven't played with each other? And especially like stuff like there's not a lot of international pride. There's not like, you're not going for national pride here. It's not like when you're playing with your country's jersey, you're like with your country on the front there.
Right.
You're playing for a group here, this European team, which is not your. So do you worry
playing for your continent?
You're playing for your continent. That's it. But you're not playing for your country.
Yeah. They might want to have something to rally around. You know what I mean?
I was a little surprised they decided not to go with a national anthem, because obviously they're not going to play every anthem.
All 12.
I think somebody
Put
on
them all at the same time.
Somebody on
Mashup.
YouTube or Mashup put all of the 9 nations into one song, and it just sounds nasty. But I mean, they could have gone with. I know "Ode to Joy" is the official anthem of the European Union. I'm surprised they didn't go with that, or just go with the European Union
Classic
flag.
I'm sure there's some countries represented here that probably aren't part of the European Union.
Are
Maybe
there?
That's possibly what it is.
I'm not totally sure about that, but I feel like that would be my first call if I'm in charge of European hockey. That's where you go with, right? Mm-hmm. But they chose not to go with one at all. Goaltending. They have Thomas Greiss. They have 2 Islanders goalies. They have Greiss and they have Yaroslav Halak, and then they have Philip Grubauer, who I believe is replacing Frederik Andersen, who was injured in a Olympic qualifier for Denmark. Do you worry about goaltending being a bit of an issue here?
Sure. I mean, yeah, but the Islanders really kind of found a way to make those 2 work this year. So. They've been facing high talent for years now, so I don't see it being a huge issue, but it could end up being a problem.
Yeah, Greiss did not have a great game in his game against North America. I believe Halak came in and replaced him pretty early on, and Halak also played the last game against Sweden, which they won. I would believe he's the number 1 guy going in. Is that the right call?
I agree. Yeah, that would be my pick. He's got the most experience, and on a team where experience is going to be their key, I think that's going to be
both of them played in the Vancouver Olympics, and I believe, and I don't remember if Germany made it, but I know Slovakia made it. Halak was one of the guys there. Both of them have had the international experience. They know how to do this, and I think it is kind of a 1A, 1B situation. If one guy doesn't step up, the other guys, they're just going to go right to him. They're not going to take any chances. All right, and now, so that rounds out Group A. So the question, I mean, I think we all kind of have pretty similar ideas as to what's going to happen here, but who are the 2 teams going forward in Group A? Because that's only 2 teams make it forward into the semifinals. Right. Who's going?
USA
Mexico
and Canada.
What? I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotta be. There's a reation that they ordered it this way.
Yeah, okay, obviously we're all going Canada and the US here. But if there is a swap, who would the swap be? Which of those 2 teams would drop out, and which team would drop in their case?
Probably Europe and USA.
Yeah.
So you believe Europe would be the team to go for, and the US would be the team that would drop
if that's
the case.
Yeah, that's what I think would be.
See, for me, I would say it's Czech Republic dropping in instead of the U.S. because they looked good and they beat North America, who looked pretty dominant in their first couple of games, and they beat them. And I think they might just have that little bit of extra speed that can beat a team like Europe and could send them or the U.S. and send them to the next round instead.
You've also benefited from watching some of these games.
I think I watched a piece of every single game.
Okay, see.
So
I have ESPN3, so I couldn't watch them.
Yeah, it's good hockey. That's a lot of people have been talking about online that don't look anything into the exhibition games. They're not going to matter, but they do in this case because it's not like a preseason game, a regular preseason game where you have a lot of guys who aren't going to be in the lineup going in. There is no cuts in this tournament. So what you're seeing on the ice now, even if they are like rusty and warming up, is pretty much what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And a team the Czech Republic beat a team that looked good right from the start. And I think that's why they might have that edge, is because I saw them play and they looked good.
Right.
Okay, so we're running a little low on time as the door squeaks as we're heading quickly through the second portion here. Group B. Let's start with Russia. Let's start with Russia really quickly. They've got the best offense, probably. I would say. What do you guys think?
They always say that about Russian teams going into these tournaments. So.
Classic Russia.
Laser guided shots, endless legs.
On defense is probably their biggest issue. Do you think that they can overcome that regardless?
Nope, never can. No, just kidding.
Well,
I think honestly,
best offense is a good defense, or whatever the saying is.
Yeah, I think you butchered that one a little bit.
One way or the other, that's probably going to hold true. But honestly, I think from the skating aspect, from what I know about Russian hockey, though, they have a pretty serious back check. That's something to consider.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're getting a lot of all stars together, basketball, whatever the heck, the kind of assumption is that those guys aren't going to be working too hard to get their butts back and play some defense. They want to maybe showboat a little bit. And that's not always true. Obviously, all these guys are going to be playing really hard, but if anything, I think it's just like a Russian pillar of the sport to play a well-rounded game. Whether or not they have the systems to keep up with, the way Canada wants to play, that's the question in my mind, for example, if you were to get there. But
the goaltending has been pretty inconsistent in terms of career-wise. Sergei Bobrovsky, Semyon Varlamov, Andrei Vasilevsky to a much lesser extent. Overall, they tend to get hot. When they get hot, they're playing really well. When they're not hot, they're having really bad games. Who do you think? What do you think is going to happen here? Do you think they're coming in hot or cold in terms of goaltending?
It's hard to say.
yeah, I agree.
I think Bobrovsky probably had the most games played this last season. He went down with injury for
he was injured for a while, and that really killed the Blue Jackets for most of their year.
Well, among other things, but
oh yeah, among other things, yeah.
And I was stuck with Varlamov on my fantasy hockey season last year, and so I know the tribulations there. Even if he played more games than Bobrovsky, it wasn't for good purposes.
All right, we're gonna go through all the teams pretty quickly now because we're running a little bit low on time. Sweden, they had a kind of a mixed pre-exhibition series. They're a good team. They lost Henrik Zetterberg to injury. Replacement and captain was Henrik Sedin, who I obviously love a lot. What is Sweden's big key here? What's going to be the key to them winning here?
Well, they're not gonna.
You don't think they're going to?
Sweden
at all?
always shows up, I feel like. So
Sweden is
they're not going to take the whole thing.
Sweden is the defending silver medalists in the Olympics.
They can
so
score
they're
a couple
good.
goals really quickly. That's what they'll do.
They're a good group.
they're a team game. Very much a team game.
From watching the exhibition games, and there's a little bit of bias for my own team here. Henrik Lundqvist obviously is the number one guy, but he played the last two exhibitions. He wasn't actually all that great. He was very much middle of the pack. And then Jonas Enroth had half a game. He didn't look so great. He let in 3 goals. Had a tough night. Lost pretty much. Had soft goals. Lost to Finland. And then from my own team, Jacob Markstrom, he had half a game, shut out the Finns, did really well. How short a leash do you think there is for Lundqvist that we might see Markstrom come in?
It's going to be the longest leash of the tournament.
Yeah,
really?
I don't think it's going to be a short leash at all.
It's great that Markstrom did well, but
Henrik is still king.
Because from watching the games, I personally believe that if he doesn't perform, if Lundqvist performs like he did in those first 2 games, they will go to Markstrom for the next game because he was chased in the last game against Europe, who many people think, hasn't looked as good as some of the other teams out there. I think he got chased with 5 goals. And I think he let in 3 goals to the Finns in the second game. So he hasn't been great. And then Markstrom had a very good night in his go, even if it was a short set. And so I feel like personally the leash is very short on him, and if Lundqvist isn't performing, Markstrom's going to be the guy who jumps right in.
I'm sure Markstrom could probably do just fine, and if he did have a great showing, that's awesome. But we're still talking about Lundqvist.
Yeah, we're still talking about King Henrik. He's in charge
here.
here.
I mean, he's arguably the best goalie in the league. So they know that. That's why he's there, and they know that they know that it's perceived, at least from everybody else, that there's a drop off.
I mean, I hope for my own team's sake that he gets some time in there. Sure. That he gets some time in this series, especially because these teams are probably, I would say, Group B is the group of death. They are probably the most even division. Mm-hmm. And so if he got even like a game in there of action in there, it would be really good for him coming back to Vancouver. Yeah. Finland, they are a very good mix. They have a lot of veterans. They have a lot of young guys like second overall pick Patrick Laine. Mm-hmm. I personally believe Finland has the best chance out of those teams to go to the finals and win something. What do you guys think overall is going to be a key to success for them if they're going to win?
Yeah, I like their build-up. I think key to success is just going to be like adjusting their game to play against these other teams that are built on all aspects. You know what I mean? Can they match up with all the other teams, basically? Yeah,
I think one of the big issues is because they are bringing in a lot of these younger guys, especially some of which who haven't even played KHL, like the advantage of the other teams is guys like Patrick Laine, Sebastian Aho are guys who have never played professional hockey before. Do you think that sets them back? Do you think it's going to be a big learning curve for them, or do you think they'll be okay? Or do you think they'll be okay regardless?
I have no idea, to be honest. This is one of those ones that's one of those questions where
That's why we're going to watch the tournament.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's one you got to watch and see.
Exactly. All right, now, very much there is a split in the goaltending. They have Pekka Rinne and Tuukka Rask, both of which are good starters and are solid and have had great success. Both of them had off years last year, but overall they've had very good success in their teams. Which goalie is your key to winning here? Is it going to be Tuukka Rask or is it going to be Pekka Rinne?
I don't think either one's the key. I think either one could do it. Yeah. So
So you think goaltending is going to be good, but it doesn't need to be good because they have a lineup.
No,
already?
I think it needs to be good, but I think that it doesn't matter which one you pick. It's going to be you're going to be fine. You're going to be putting forth your best effort, whether or not you pick one or the other. My pick would be Rinne, but it's.
I would also personally go with Rinne as well.
I'm going to go with Tuukka Rask.
All right, just so you can be the opposite here. All right, and then finally we get into probably the most exciting team out of all of them, because they're the weird team, which is North America, which is Canadian and U.S. young stars from under the age of 23. They're in a tough division. If you switched them out into Group A, I could definitely see them winning. But they definitely are the underdog in this division, even though no matter how good they are.
It was very intentional for them not to put them in the other division.
Yeah, how good do you think they have to be?
Pretty good.
I think these guys have the least amount to prove because they're so young. So I feel like, they're going to be the ones having the most fun with it. Yeah, and I think they're going to just let everything kind of just roll off their backs and just, go in,
I would say
exactly. Just not worry about it, and they could steal games and win this whole thing. Really.
Yeah. They're going to be exciting to watch.
They're gonna be fun. I think they're gonna get a lot of views, like in terms of like viewers from like TV and everything. I feel like in ways there's a chance they might even outdraw like a US or a Canada just because they're such an interesting looking team.
Young stars.
I would say they're a dark horse to win. EA Sports has their annual simulation for like the NHL. They did one for the World Cup. They had North America beating Canada.
In the finals?
I think it was I don't know if it was in the finals, but they had them beating Canada and winning at some point. And winning the tournament. Do you think that's a legit possibility here?
I think it's great for both U.S. and Canadian nationalism.
It would be
having both of them.
I wonder if it would be kind of a black eye on the program if a Canada lost to a team like this. It would look so bad if they lost to like this is basically Canada B and USA B. Yeah. If you're having a tournament like this, they always have those kind of articles about them.
If the original teams, meaning like
Team
A,
A
Canada, and U.S. didn't win, it would just bring into that conversation the whole, heart, playing, just to want to win.
I feel like neither side is going to be happy if this happens.
Just out of curiosity, there's a bit of a debate whether or not team captain Connor McDavid would he, if this rule wasn't in place, if he would have made Team Canada, do you believe he would have made Team Canada, or do you think that they would have not, or do you think they still would not have picked
Maybe.
him?
It's hard to say.
I mean, there's so many guys on Team Canada
that would have him.
you could,
Like
like,
Matt
set him
Duchene.
up.
Matt Duchene is a guy who's kind of, I think somebody put it like lucky to be here sort of thing, because he's happy to be here sort of thing, because he isn't like a superstar player, but he's played with Hockey Canada before, which is why they took him.
Right, but then again, I mean,
cases.
not to bring it up again, but Phil Kessel didn't make
Phil
the team,
Kessel
so,
did not
yeah,
make it.
no,
I don't know how
it's
he
like-
didn't make it. He wasn't a champion. He wasn't a Stanley Cup champion when they were picking the teams, but
Yeah.
I still feel like, how do you not go with him, right?
Yeah.
And all right, so Group B. Okay, who do you think? Who are the two teams going forward? Because this is a very tight call because of how close each team is. Who do you say are the two teams going ahead?
I'm going North America and Russia.
North America and Russia. That is I mean, I can't even say that you're wrong here, because any team, there is really no wrong answer here as to who you're picking. It really is just who gets the edge. That's that little edge over the other team. I mean, I would go with a team like Finland. I would say Finland's probably got an edge, and I would probably go with Russia as well.
I would say North America and Sweden, actually.
I was going to say North America and Sweden
Yes.
as well.
Yeah,
Sweden
North
always performs in
North
these things,
America
so-
is, I would say, even though they have the least likely chance of winning out of these groups, in my mind, I would say that they're the more likely team to jump up at the
Right.
same time.
Yeah.
I would say they would replace like a Finland. They would probably replace
And I think
Finland.
Sweden stands the most to gain from a less physical game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Because
that's true.
everyone in that country grows up. I mean, all those Scandinavian countries not really playing contact hockey until
Right.
they're like 18.
No, all right. I guess quickly we should just brief in on what we have planned for the rest of the year, because this podcast. We're hoping to do this every week if we can. This year it's going to be a lot more based on the SRJC Polar Bears hockey team, which is why it's named like this. Why we have the Polar Bear Podcast in here. We're going to be doing this throughout the year. More so, less talk about NHL, more about what's going on with the college team, because we are a college podcast and everything.
Was it less about the NHL, or is it just adding on?
NHL will be secondary to what we're
Right.
talking about with the Polar Bears from
We
now on,
won't
from basically
exclude
right
it.
now. Yeah, right now we won't completely cut it off. We're going to talk about the NHL because that's very important to talk about. But of course, Polar Bears are going to be our main talking point right now. Obviously, right now, World Cup, there is no Polar Bears to talk about at the moment, just practicing and stuff, and the World Cup is the main draw. But yeah, from now on, obviously we have Tommy who's playing, Travis is playing, Trevor and I are not playing. I'm going to be doing mostly media stuff, so I will still be involved doing things. But from the two guys who are playing, what are your expectations this year? What do you have? What do you think? What are the expectations this year?
Well, I expect us to do really well.
How'd you guys do
moving up-
last year?
Yeah.
Well, we did really great last
Yeah,
year.
now this is a whole nother year, because for those of you who don't know, the Polar Bears are moving up from Division 3 hockey to Division 2, which doesn't sound like a big jump, but it is. There is a huge difference in the level of the hockey that you guys are going to be involved in. Do you see maybe like early on, do you see there could be an issue in terms of like the learning curve, or do you think you'll fit right in? Right off the bat?
We've been playing D2 teams
Yeah.
this whole time. Just now we're also D2. So
Now you just got the
it's-
tag to go along with it, but
Yeah.
that brings a target to you, because you guys are the new guys. You guys are the new guys going
Absolutely.
in. You are the Division 2 rookies. And people are gonna want to take you down early on.
or are they gonna think, oh, these guys?
They might now they could underestimate
Yeah.
you, which would be a key. Which would be really helpful for you guys, because
Like,
you guys
have
could
been-
get the jump on them.
You guys have been the D3 team that's been beating us D2 teams for a while now. So, they could be some
Which is cool. I
expectations.
think I was just going to say the momentum carrying us into the season, 4 division championships in a row is kind of a good thing. I mean, yeah, you could kind of nitpick and be a little bit hesitant to say that we're ready for it. Just filling out the schedule fully with D2 teams versus a mixture of D2 and D3 teams. But as of now, we have slightly fewer, not that many, but slightly fewer games in general. A little bit more rest. We're getting more practice times on ice and things like that. So
Yeah.
there's been some more sort of legitimizing changes, which I think is really cool. And last year seemed to be just on the up and up. I mean, compared to the year before, there's more people going. More people, you bump into kind of and may or may not know about this team that we have at the JC, which I think is really cool. It's great entertainment for people. We love to play. I don't see it as a bad thing in any way, shape, or form. Getting a little more recognition from the school, I think it's just a nice little tip of the cap. Nothing to be too overblown, but keep your heads down, keep working.
Yeah, I encourage anyone listening to come see some games this year. They're going to have a great year. First games this year are they the first weekend of October in LA? In LA, in Southern California. So the home opener I don't believe is until late October. Of course, we'll get more in depth with that. But it's going to be a big year, especially because it's a new division. I believe new uniforms are coming in.
That's correct.
So you're going to see a new look team on the ice as well, both just with new players and with just overall new design of the uniforms. And it's going to be, and I think we're going to draw a lot more people this year. Even though, I mean, how do you top last year? Last year they were selling out games every night, basically.
It actually became a problem last year.
Yeah, it did become a problem. The last game of the year, we had to sell tickets officially
turned away. I heard about 150 people.
Yeah, it's
which is sizable.
I think if long term, if there's one thing we can help by doing this podcast and publicity, it's hopefully maybe one day we can help get a new building at some point. If that sounds like an impossible feat, it kind of is, but we're gonna try doing it anyway.
Out there,
yeah,
who has the means.
And I know there's some grant money from the JC that's coming in, and they told us they're not building an ice rink, but if there's enough people coming to those games, why wouldn't you? If you can make some money off of it, right? If you can fit some ice into one of the basketball. Yeah, it's just if you guys show some success this year, you guys could very much change the establishment's minds, and look forward to seeing you guys.
The mixture is also going to be, kind of being well behaved too, because for a while we didn't really get too much scrutiny. We got to fool around and play some hockey, but I think a couple wins in a row got people to realize that this could be something.
Mm-hmm.
So, the only thing that would undo the momentum that I mentioned we have is just extracurricular things, so to speak. So we'll play that. We'll play our hockey game, and everything looks like we're going swell. We're going to have fun.
Well, good luck to you guys, obviously, for the season. Obviously, you guys are going to be here with on the podcast every week, so we'll always have insight as to what's going on. And Trevor, I don't know how much you and I can add to this, but obviously we're going to do our best here this year to help give these guys,
we'll see you guys there.
give you guys the best publicity we can.
I've been around since they brought him back, so
long time fan.
Yeah.
But never played with the team, but I'm happy to support because I love seeing hockey built up around this area, which it hasn't. It's been sort of a small clique for a really long time, and I love to see the recognition and people legitimizing it around here. It's a wonderful thing.
Hopefully we can get some other players to come in and talk about their seasons as well during the year. Do whatever we can. But I think that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for listening. We have no idea how this is going to be downloaded yet, but when it does, come get it. It's going to be good. Hopefully, I believe we'll get it on YouTube at the very least. Maybe SoundCloud as well every week. Yeah. If we can. We're still talking with Oakleaf Management on how that's going to work. But until then, we will see you next week for another edition of 4 Dudes 1 Cup, a Polar Bear Podcast. This has been powered by the SRJC Oakleaf, SRJC student newspaper.
All right.